Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to take a deep and thorough journey into the world of the Roosevelt dime, a coin that many people overlook in their everyday pocket change, but which carries a tremendous amount of history, numismatic intrigue, and incredible value potential for collectors, beginning with its origins in 1946 when it replaced the Mercury dime. Officially known as the Winged Liberty Head dime, which had been in circulation since 1916 but was retired after World War II, at a time when the nation was still mourning the loss of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, who had passed away in April 1945 after serving 4 terms in office, leading the country through both the Great Depression and World War II, and whose leadership and charisma left an indelible mark on American history, particularly through his New Deal policies that transformed the economy and his role as Commander-in-Chief during the most devastating global conflict of the 20th century, and it was largely due to his strong association with the March of Dimes, a campaign to eradicate polio that he himself suffered from, that the decision was made to honor him on the dime, a denomination perfectly symbolic because the March of Dimes was already etched in the public's mind, making the Roosevelt dime not just another coin but a tribute to a man whose life's work was tied directly to the word dime. And so in January 1946 the first Roosevelt dimes rolled off the presses, struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, with a diameter of 17.9 millimeters and a weight of 2.5 grams, continuing the tradition of small silver coinage in U.S. history. And for nearly 2 decades these silver dimes were produced in large numbers at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, until the Coinage Act of 1965 mandated the removal of silver from circulating coins due to the rising cost of precious metals, which meant that from 1965 onward the dime was struck in a clad composition of copper and nickel, giving us the modern dimes we use today. But within this long series stretching from 1946 to the present day, there are countless varieties, proof issues, mint errors, and condition rarities that make certain Roosevelt dimes worth far more than 10 cents. In fact, some are worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And one of the most famous examples is the 1975 No S proof Roosevelt dime, an extraordinary modern rarity that should have had the S mint mark for San Francisco on the obverse, but instead was struck without it, making it a mint error of epic proportions, with only 2 known examples in existence, and one of these sold at auction for over $350,000, making it the single most valuable Roosevelt dime ever recorded. And this breathtaking figure represents the midpoint of our discussion because it illustrates how even a tiny coin that most people overlook can contain life-changing value. And alongside this legendary rarity we have other No S proof dimes such as the 1968, 1970, and 1983 issues, each of which commands thousands to tens of thousands of dollars depending on grade and demand. And while these proof errors are rare treasures, there are also circulation strike dimes that bring huge premiums, such as the 1982 No P dime, a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint without the usual P mint mark, discovered in circulation and causing a collecting frenzy in the 1980s, with high-grade examples selling for thousands of dollars today, proving that even modern-clad dimes are worth searching for in pocket change. And when we look back at the silver era, coins like the 1949s, 1950s, and low mintage issues from the late 1940s and early 1950s are all condition rarities, meaning that they are very common in circulated grades but exceptionally difficult to find in pristine mint state or proof-like condition, especially with the full bands or full torch designation on the reverse, a grading designation that refers to the torch on the back of the dime being fully struck with clear separation of the horizontal and vertical lines, which is very rare and adds significant value, sometimes multiplying a coin's worth several times over. For example, a common date dime worth just a few dollars in mint state may sell for hundreds or even thousands if graded with full torch. And collectors spend decades building full sets with this challenging designation, making Roosevelt dimes not just valuable for rare varieties but also as a long-term pursuit for high-grade specialists. And beyond technical rarity, we must also consider the artistic and symbolic importance of the design itself, which was created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, whose initials, J.S., appear at the base of Roosevelt's neck, and whose work was not without controversy, as some critics initially speculated that the letters J.S. stood for Joseph Stalin during the early Cold War era. An accusation quickly dispelled but still part of the lore of this coin, and Sinek's obverse portrait of Roosevelt is paired with a reverse design featuring a torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch representing strength, all of which combine to create a design rich with symbolism and longevity, still in use nearly 8 decades later, which is rare for U.S. coins considering how often designs change, and the continuity of the Roosevelt dime speaks volumes about its success as a design and its acceptance by the public. And when we dive deeper into auction results, we find that aside from the six-figure no-S-proof dime, many Roosevelt dimes routinely sell for thousands at major auctions held by Heritage, Stacksbowers, and other firms, especially coins graded at the very top of the census, such as MS-68 or MS-69 examples from the early silver issues, or ultra-cameo proof coins from the 1950s, where the frosted devices and deeply mirrored fields create a stunning contrast highly prized by collectors, and the fact that even relatively modern coins from the 1960s through the 1980s can achieve such lofty values shows how wide-ranging the Roosevelt dime market really is, covering everything from silver bullion value for common junk silver dimes to six-figure rarities for ultra-scarce varieties. And in terms of sheer collectability, the Roosevelt dime offers something for everyone, whether you are a beginner looking to build a set from pocket change, an intermediate collector filling Whitman albums with silver issues, or an advanced specialist chasing full-torch graded coins and elusive no-S varieties. And it is this versatility that keeps the Roosevelt dime series vibrant and exciting to this day, because the hunt never ends and new discoveries continue to be made, such as unusual die varieties cataloged in the Cherry Picker's Guide or unattributed transitional errors that slip through unnoticed until sharp-eyed collectors identify them, proving that the story of the Roosevelt dime is still unfolding. And when you consider the broader historical context, from Roosevelt's leadership during polio to the March of Dimes charity that continues to this day, to the silver-to-clad transition in 1965, and the explosion of modern mint errors that keep collectors on their toes, it becomes clear that this coin is not just a piece of money but a living monument to American history, resilience, and progress, making the Roosevelt dime one of the most rewarding coins to study, collect, and treasure, both for its numismatic value and for its human story. As we continue our deep dive into the Roosevelt dime, it's important to remember that while the most famous rarities such as the 1975 no-S proof, the 1982 no-P circulation error, and the early silver issues with full torch designations tend to dominate headlines and capture attention, there are countless other examples across the entire series that illustrate the diversity and richness of this coin story, because every year from 1946 to the present offers its own nuances in terms of strike quality, mintage numbers, proof production, and collectible demand. For instance, the 1946 first-year issues carry sentimental value as the inaugural coins of the series, and later transitional years like 1964 and 1965 are studied closely by collectors for signs of trial strikes or experimental planchets. And when we move into the modern era of state quarters and flashy new designs, the Roosevelt dime has remained quietly consistent, unchanged in its appearance, which ironically has made it an anchor of stability in U.S. coinage, and this reliability is part of why collectors treasure it, because it offers continuity and a direct link to Roosevelt's legacy across generations, and auction records continue to reflect the enduring demand, as high-grade silver proofs from the 1950s can bring several $1,000s, while clad proof dimes with missing mint marks shock the market whenever a fresh discovery appears, and the hunt for quality circulation finds goes on among coin roll hunters, who know that condition and error varieties can transform an ordinary dime into a prize. So the Roosevelt dime series is more than just a small denomination coin. It is a vast landscape of collecting opportunities, investment potential, and historical storytelling, making it a cornerstone of U.S. numismatics. And whether you are inspired by its connection to President Roosevelt and the March of Dimes, fascinated by its proof and error rarities, or motivated by the thrill of finding a valuable dime in circulation, this series delivers something for everyone. So keep your eyes open, study the details, and never underestimate the power of the smallest coin in your pocket, because it may hold a story worth thousands. And with that, we conclude today's exploration of the Roosevelt dime. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it with fellow collectors. Because your support keeps these deep dives possible, and together we can continue uncovering the hidden treasures of numismatics.